Hello again, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of Planet Zoo here on the channel. I am McSnazzy, and we are back in Ranger Park Zoo again to extend our zoo build project that we've been doing here for the past couple months or so. Now, I know we've had sort of a little break since the video, but I'll explain a little bit more of that once we get further into the video. But without further ado, this is episode 12. We're going to make a nice grizzly bear habitat in this episode. Super happy with the results. If you haven't seen any of the episodes before this or missed one in between, you can go check those out in the playlist up in the top right corner. If you click there, you can see all the episodes in the Ranger Park Zoo series, so you can see the zoo get built from the ground up. Now, if you're not into the time-lapse portion, you don't want to watch all the time-lapse, I understand. There is a timestamp in the description below if you want to jump straight ahead to the real-time walkthrough where we look at the final product of the video, and you can see exactly what we build after all the time-lapse. So, with that all out of the way, let's talk about what we're doing on screen, and also, where I've been the past few weeks. So I've been really busy in my real life the past few weeks, and I'm sorry there hasn't been a video for the past, I think it's 2 or 3 weeks now. The last episode was the Tortoise House episode that I had scheduled to come out while I was on a little bit of a trip, so I wasn't actually here to personally put that out, but that was pre-recorded and I set that out a while ago. So for me, it's been nearly a month since I've recorded a video for the Ranger Park Zoo series, or on the channel in general. So I just wanted to, get that out there and say that this is my first build back, and it felt good to get back in the game. I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to do with this grizzly build, but I had a little bit of a creative block too as well for a little while. I knew I wanted to do a grizzly bear enclosure, and I wanted to expand this sort of bear walk area and sort of start it off with a bang and do something really cool with a big grizzly bear habitat that looks awesome. But getting started on that really was a struggle to find the time to do it and to find the sort of inspiration of what I wanted it to look like, because I just didn't want to rinse and repeat and recycle old bear builds that I've done. If you've watched the Timber Gorge series or anything, you've seen I've done a couple bear builds on there, and I sort of started building this exhibit like that, and then I just scrapped it. I didn't want to do the same thing, and it just didn't feel good to do that, so I took a little bit of a step back, and you saw sort of at the starting that we were doing that sort of entrance area, and I'll show that more in the real-time portion, but that's not finished yet either. But I did that all off camera. I wanted to solely focus on sort of the grizzly habitat for this episode. But when the inspiration sort of leaves you, it kind of comes back randomly and just kind of happens. So a couple nights ago, I just got big inspiration for this and just sat down and did almost this entire build in one sort of go. And I just started off, and it just came to me, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope you guys like it too, and I think this is probably the best build I've ever done in Planet Zoo yet. Super happy with it, but it is far from polished. There is backstage area work that needs to be done, surrounding work that needs to be done, especially for the sort of bear walk area, and we'll talk about that more in the real-time portion. I also apologize in the top right corner if you see some of the Steam friends list stuff up there. I don't know why it's showing up. It's never showed up on OBS before, but I'll get it fixed for next video, but it's all in this footage for this video, so I do apologize for that if that is a little annoying. But also, if I do sound a little weird on the mic, it is because I moved to a new house, and that was probably the biggest part of my absence. I was just super busy with moving, so that was a big part there. So I really, it's a little more echoey where I'm at now, so I think I'm going to get some sound dampeners and stuff, so it'll be a little less echoey when I'm recording voice for the next, the future episodes here, and so bear with me on this episode if it does sound a little different. I'm not sure if it's gonna, but I already have sort of a feeling it's a lot more echoey than it was in my old recording place at my old place. So with that being said, let's talk about the build. We're doing a lot on the screen right now. I wanted to go with something a little more organic. I wanted this enclosure to feel really natural, and that it was kind of like just a little bit of piece of the northern wilderness where these grizzlies would be, just plopped into a zoo somewhere, just like picture perfect, cut and copy paste from there. Not something super zooey necessarily. There are some pretty nice view areas, and I do set it up so it looks like it's like made to be a zoo habitat, but I kind of wanted to go for more of the look of the habitat before the guest functionality. Sort of the opposite of a lot of the things that I've done for most of these episodes, where I focus on the realism of, say, the guest experience. You know, a zoo would care about what the guest thinks and the viewpoints for the guest, but also the animals as well. But I just wanted to go for a beautiful northern scenic sort of wilderness area that is just gonna look great for the bears and for the guests to look at, and just look super lush, wooded, also rocky. You know, I add a little lake in there. I just want it to look like a nice little area that looks super natural and realistic, because I think that will kind of set this exhibit apart from the rest of the zoo in that sense. But also going back to the trip I took when I had the tortoise house video sort of queued up there, I took a trip to up north to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and there's a lot of great scenery up there, and it kind of gave me a lot of inspiration for this bear habitat that I'm making here. You know, it's a lot of rocky, wooded with pines and stuff like that up there. So we went up to our cabin up there, and it just gave me a lot of inspiration for this bear habitat, and it's going to give me a lot of inspiration for the black bear habitat that we're hopefully doing in one of the future episodes. But you know, the Australia pack just got announced, I think, today as I'm recording this, so the video might be out tonight, I'm not sure, but whenever this video is out, the Australia pack was announced today, so we might have to do some Australian animals. I'm really excited to do koalas, so we might have to do koalas in the next episode. I'm not entirely sure yet, but we'll get to it when we can. But black bears will be in the future sometime soon, and it is black bear country up where I was for this trip, so I used a lot of that inspiration. I took a lot of pictures to sort of get that style here in this habitat, and with the black bear habitat I will do that as well. But you know, very rocky, just a lot of pine trees and spruce trees and stuff like that. Not a lot of deciduous trees. Now there are those up there, but there's not as many. There's a lot of birch and pine and things like that, so I thought that really had the feel going. A lot of little crawly bracken and like those little kind of weeds that go between the rocks, like what I did right there. So that's really what I was going for. Lots of tiered areas, high mountains, stuff like that. You're not going to see everything in this time lapse. I did do a bit off camera after I recorded this big stretch where we do a lot of the work here, but in sort of that I just expanded and make it more wooded and everything, and I'm sure you'll saw that in the glam shots at the beginning of the video. You'll see that in the real-time portion at the end of the video, and I just hope you guys like it, because I'm super proud of this, super happy with how it turned out. I think it looks exactly how I wanted it to look, and I'm just really happy with the results. And I know I say that a lot, but this one especially, I think this is probably the best build I've done yet, and I'm just really happy with it. So I also wanted to talk about sort of expanding the channel a little bit. I kind of want to potentially do other games. I don't know what other games you guys would like to see. Everyone who's watching, people who are subscribed and come here for the Planet Zoo content. I know there's other builder games out there, or just games in general, that people would like to see me do, because I'd like to expand a little bit out of Planet Zoo. Planet Zoo has kind of fallen in popularity in the recent months, and a lot of the, you know, Planet Zoo YouTubers going back to Planet Coaster, because they were Planet Coaster YouTubers to begin with, and a lot of people are sort of stepping back from this game. And I'm not saying that I want to do that, because I still love this game more so than Planet Coaster and all those, but I also want to diversify the channel a little bit, because there is a creative block when it comes to playing games like this, where you get really into it for spurts, and then you kind of lose that creativity for a little bit, and then it comes back to you, of course, in a few weeks, which kind of happened here, although a lot of that was busyness on my end, but it was really hard to get back into it, is what I'm saying. So if there's anything you guys want to see on the channel, just let me know in the comments below, and maybe we can make it happen with some other series. Just let me know in the comments below. I like recording the videos and editing them. It's a lot of fun for me, and it's just a hobby that I want to continue to grow, and grow our community here on the channel. Just make it better. I know we're all into Planet Zoo here right now, because that's sort of the only thing I do, but I'm willing to step out of there, do some other games. I have a lot of games in my Steam library and stuff like that that I could make videos for, and I just wanted to throw that out there because that's sort of something that has been on my mind a little lately. But getting back to the build, back to what we're doing here, we're going to jump into the real-time portion, I think here soon. We're doing a little bit of this touch-up work here, sort of adding a lot more rocks and a lot of terrain paint. I think is the key to making this look really realistic and really, you know, wooded, nice, and just how good it turns out is a lot of the terrain paint. You got to think about this when you're making these yourself. A lot of strategically placed foliage and a lot of terrain paint can go a long way in making things look a lot more realistic in this game. You know, you got to think about the guest sight lines, of course, but also what looks natural. Trees are going to be clumped in little areas, stuff like that. There's going to be some dense areas, there's going to be some sparse areas, there's going to be a valley, there's going to be a mountain, there's going to be a lake with less foliage around it, but also cattails in it because, you know, that would be natural. So there's a lot of things you gotta think about when you do this, and if you think of realism like that, you look at pictures while you're doing it of what you kind of want it to be. You're not necessarily copying those pictures, you know, completely, but you are using them for inspiration to make things look really natural. So that's kind of what I do. Just a little tip out there if you want to elevate your builds a little more. But yes, super happy with this. I think it looks really natural and it kind of flows really well, but we do need to do a lot of work on the outside of it. We got to expand this bear area. I want to add an eatery. I want to add a big research, sort of bear research center for all the different species. And but also the Australian pack coming out gets me a little excited to do some different animals like the koalas, the kangaroos. That'd be fun, and I think I have a spot where we can add those animals into this project. It's going to extend the project a little bit, but there's no worries on that. I like doing this. This is a fun zoo so far, and it's been really fun building it up. So it's kind of nice that they're adding another pack, and they're also adding like color variations on animals with this free update. And they're also doing other stuff that I forgot about, but there's some sandbox stuff, some helpful things that I can do to turn off alerts, stuff like that. But also, if you guys want me to start a franchise series on Planet Zoo, I've never played the franchise mode except in the beta, so I might not be that great at it, but the whole money making and managing the zoo to be sort of a business would be a little nice change of pace, but those episodes would be a lot less time-lapsey and a lot more just like real-time sort of playing the game. It could be something for stream that might be a little better for that sort of format, but you know, just let me know in the comments what you guys want to see. We're gonna get back to our regular schedule, probably with weekly uploads, since things have sort of settled down in my life. So we're back, and it feels good to be back in Planet Zoo again because this game is beautiful, and I don't know, I go into these builds just sort of with a rough idea, and when I start playing with the terrain it just comes to me. So I kind of like that, you know. I didn't expect to do all of this grizzly habitat in like one go, but it just kind of came to me, and that's what's really fun about this game sometimes, just sort of making things out of nothing all of a sudden. So I hope you guys did enjoy the time-lapse portion. We are going to jump into the real-time live portion here in a second, where I talk about sort of what we did and we walk around with the final product. So I think we have another 30-40 seconds here. I'll just play some music and I will see you guys in the live portion of the video. Hello everyone, we are now in the real-time portion of the episode, and we're going to start over at the tortoise house, the build we did a couple weeks ago now, and we'll go take a look at what we did in this episode to the bear walk and grizzly area. So here is the entrance to the bear walk. I kind of wanted to do this sort of tiered walk up that looks pretty cool, like you're walking up into the mountains where bears sort of generally live. But it's still very much a work in progress here. This was kind of done and recorded throughout a few weeks or so, just sporadically me doing that over and over again, trying to figure out the best way to do it. I think we're kind of where we want to be. It is subject to change, and there's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done. Definitely big sign here, trees and etc., but we can talk about that a little later. I don't think you saw a ton of this in the time lapse, but I kind of wanted to go for sort of a natural rocky feel. But it is ADA approved because you do have ramps instead of stairs. I don't know, those might be pretty steep ramps, so trying to keep the realism. But let's go over to the Grizzly area and we can talk about what's going to happen here. But here is the sign. This was done off camera, of course, for Grizzly Peak. That's what we're going to call this area. I'm really excited to show you guys this. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think it's my best build yet in the game, and way to come back from a little bit of a break for a couple weeks to just make such a beautiful build. And I was just so happy after getting done with this and just looking at it. I just love how it looks, and I really took a lot of inspiration from my trip, as I sort of discussed in the live time-lapse portion if you missed it. But yeah, it's just beautiful. Up here there's sort of an education area where you can walk around, learn some stuff. It's sort of just a ring around here, and that's why we have the education. But I didn't want to go super crazy with this build. I wanted to make it just look beautiful, be very natural for the bears, and really go for that instead of sort of big education building all this stuff, because I think with the whole bear area we'll have a big bear education center where you can learn about all kinds of stuff. So I think that'll cover the basis for education centers, and we don't necessarily have to make one for every single habitat. And I kind of want this to be sort of a bear-centric zoo. I want this area to be the most sort of grossing, most popular area, most budget put into it in terms of realism. And the guests are sort of starting to file in now. They're kind of spread out throughout the park now since it is getting pretty big. But I just think it's beautiful. I love looking at it. Nice and tiered, lots of dense foliage like you would see up in these northern areas where the grizzlies live. I like this little sort of breakup of the wall here, and gives the grizzlies sort of some privacy as well. I really like this part about it. It just looks nice and natural. And then we go over to this side where we can see it's sort of there. Whoa! Held down W. But on this side we can sort of get where the bears would have sort of a field. The other side's the sort of lake pond area. Here they can kind of just chill in the field, run around, play with the toys, etc. It's sort of like a valley outside of this big mountain that we kind of built here, and I just love how it looks. Big happy. That doesn't make any sense. Really happy with how this turned out. Definitely what I wanted to do to get back into this. I've been waiting to do bears the whole time. As always, I always say that. In my last series, if you watched Timber Gorge, I was really waiting to get into doing the bears, and then when I finally did, I was just so happy with it. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. I love Grizzly Peak, as we're gonna call it, and I think it just looks great. I just want to get some nice aerial shots in here. We did a lot of work in sort of the pond here, putting some foliage and rocks on there, make it look a little more natural. Some of that might have been off camera, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't fully edited the live, the time-lapse portion yet, so I'm not sure what's gonna make it. I know a bit of it will get cut out, but I've done a lot of this off-camera fence work. I made this custom log fence because I think it looks really nice, along with some of this, the sign, etc. And this whole area will get fleshed out. It'll look a lot nicer, and I really think that I just wanted to get this grizzly area set out in this video, and this is really my goal. It wasn't this entrance, it wasn't this layout, it's just I want to get this down. I want to make the grizzly bear habitat, and that's really what I set out to do, and it took me a few weeks to do it. I mean, as I will say in the time-lapse portion, I was really busy in my real life outside of YouTube and Planet Zoo during that time, but all in all, I really wanted to set out and get this grizzly bear habitat done, and I was kind of in a creative block for a little bit. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. Just sort of went for it one night and it just kind of came together. And I took a lot of inspiration from my trip to the Upper Peninsula and just a lot of the beauty up there and where sort of these bears would live. Lots of dense, but also lots of rocky. There's lots of rocky, more than you'd think, in sort of these big forests, big rock structures, and lots of water too. I've seen lots of water up there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me talk a little bit about the future layout here before I cap off the video. But right here is where I want to do sort of a eatery area, sort of like a big entrance into the bear walk. That's really the goal for that spot. I want to do like a lodge style building, kind of like our entrance building over here. And you might see me in the time lapse. I put the entrance building right there to kind of get a judge of the scale of how it would look like, but definitely an eatery area. It's probably a lodge sort of building right here, a picnic area right here with lots of tables and stuff, maybe a gift shop as well, sort of like a bear walk gift shop, because I want this to be the big area of the zoo, sort of lots of focus on bears because love bears. Over here, outlining another habitat. I don't know what this will be. It might be the brown bear, it might be the black bear, could be the panda bear. I don't know as of now. I'm leaning more towards this would be the black bear though. But sort of just outlining it to get a feel of this area. This will honestly extend this up. This sort of raised mountainy area will extend to accommodate for the other bear species, and especially when we do the polar bear, which require a ton of space, it's gonna have to be sort of a big area, and that might be maybe more central to the zoo, maybe over here more behind the grizzlies. But I think the grizzlies, I mean, this is a big footprint for a habitat. And I really like how it turned out. Like, there's not a lot of walking space. If I jump out of this camera view and I can show you, there's not a ton of walking space for them. Like, yeah, that's a lot, but a lot of this extra mountainy area and all this, they don't really walk there, so it's not really traversable area for them. So all in all, it has a big footprint of habitat, but really the bears aren't getting, you know, all that space to walk around, and they're just barely good enough. So when we do the polar bears, which they have huge, it's gonna be really big, and I want to do the polar bears because I haven't done them yet in the game, and I know that's probably one of the biggest challenges people have had is doing polar bears because they require so much space, and trying to fill up that space make it look interesting. But that's a problem for future Mixnazzy. So I'll cut off here, and I want to say thank you all for watching. Sorry for the delay on the video for a few weeks, but I hope it was well worth the wait because I'm really happy with how this turned out. I hope you all enjoyed the episode of Ranger Park Zoo. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below if you did enjoy this video. It really does help the channel grow. I appreciate everyone who made it this far and watched the entire thing. It really does help out, and thank you so much. I'll see you guys all again next week for the next episode of Ranger Park Zoo, where we'll do something cool again. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.